Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner, Coleman, Cutter, Danielson, Exum, Fields, Gardner, Janal, Janal,
Excused.
Gonzalez, Hansen, Henriksen, Jaquez Lewis, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Lundin, Marchman, Moreno, Mullica,
Excused.
Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson,
Excused.
Smallwood, Sullivan, Van Winkle, Will, Winter, Zenzinger, Mr. President.
Here. Morning roll call is 32 present, 0 absent, 3 excused. We do have a quorum. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend Senate Rule 1B to allow a former member to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. Senator Tate, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance like old times?
Members and friends, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Go Rockies!
Approval of the journal, Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of Wednesday, April 5th, 2023 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. Senate Services.
April 6, 2023, correctly printed Senate Bills 269 and 270, correctly engrossed Senate Joint Memorial 5, correctly re-engrossed Senate Bill 204, correctly re-revised House Bills 1025 and 1039.
Committee reports.
April 5, 2023, the Committee on Agricultural and Natural Resources, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 192 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. April 5, 2023, the Committee on Education, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: House Bill 1089 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with the recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. April 5, 2023. Mr. President, the Committee on Education has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar to confirm members of the Board of Trustees for Fort Lewis College effective January 1st, 2023 for terms expiring December 31st, 2026. Janet Vilsack of Mountain View, Colorado, reappointed. Christopher Red of Bayville, Colorado, reappointed. Stacy DeFore of Castle Rock, Colorado, appointed. April 5th, 2023, the Committee on Transportation and Energy, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 200 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 198 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. April 5th, 2023, the Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 210 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1204 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. April 6, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 27 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 191 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 1 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 2 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with a recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 16 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 32 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with the recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 44 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 59 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 82 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 105 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 161 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 177 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with the recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 179 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 196 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with the recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1009 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1094 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with a recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1168 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1183 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with a recommendation it be placed on the consent calendar. April 5th, 2023, the Committee on Judiciary, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 172 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 89 be postponed indefinitely.
Conference committee reports.
First report of the First Conference Committee on Senate Bill 168 to the President of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives. Your First Conference Committee appointed on Senate Bill 168 concerning gun violence victim access to the justice system has met and reports that it agrees upon the following. One, that the Senate accede to the House amendments made to the bill as the amendments appear in the re-revised bill. Two, that under the authority granted the committee to consider matters not at issue between the two houses, the following amendments be recommended, respectively submitted. Senate Committee, Senator Jaquez Lewis, Chair, Senators Kolker and Gardner. House Committee, Representatives Mabry, Chair, Representatives Parenti and Taggart.
Message from the House.
April 5th, 2023, Mr. President, Committee, the House has voted to grant the House conferees on the First Conference Committee on Senate Bill 168 to consider matters not at issue between the two houses.
Will the clerk please add Senator Mullica to the roll? Introduction of memorials.
Senate Joint Memorial 6, Senator Coleman, Representative Bacon, memorializing former Senator Gloria Tanner.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Joint Memorial 6 lay over until Tuesday, April 11th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Joint Memorial 6, the Tuesday, April 11th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Joint Memorial 5 will lay over until Tuesday, April 11th. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate proceed out of order for moments of personal privilege by the Senator from Highlands Ranch and the Senator from Aurora.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will proceed out of order. Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we are joined here today by Charlotte Figge's family over here on the bench, and it is a tremendous honor to have them here. Charlotte Figge Day in the state of Colorado is April 7th, and of course we are off tomorrow, so we are honored to be joined by them here today to celebrate the life of Charlotte. Charlotte was born on April 18th, 2006 with a twin sister and her parents, Paige and Matt Figge. At 3 months old, she had her first seizure due to her Dravet syndrome, and at age 5, she used a wheelchair and had up to 300 grand mal seizures a week. Charlotte went on to become a symbol of the possibilities of CBD after CNN chief medical correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta told her story in the documentary Weed. In the film, the world saw Charlotte to be a playful child who was overcome by horrific seizures which were quelled by Charlotte's Web, a marijuana strain named in her honor. Charlotte was not expected to live past age 8, but she beat the odds time after time and thrived. She loved riding her tandem bike with her mother and getting manicures with her devoted twin sister, Chase, who is here today. Many of us in this body had the tremendous honor of meeting Charlotte and, of course, meeting her family. I urge everyone here today to do that very thing, but allow me now to read the tribute to Charlotte. The Senate of the State of Colorado, convened in the first regular session of the 74th General Assembly, hereby recognizes Charlotte Figge. April 7th is recognized as Charlotte Figge Day in Colorado. In Charlotte Figge's 13-year life, the impact that Charlotte's journey made is immeasurable. Her life as a pioneering patient created access to cannabis therapies for millions around the world. Charlotte was the inspiration for the launch of the Realm of Caring Foundation, a nonprofit charitable organization established to guide suffering families through their cannabis health journey and conduct revolutionary research worldwide. Charlotte Figge's deeply committed family shared their journey and challenges to assist families in similar situations. Charlotte was rightfully known as, quote, the girl who changed marijuana laws across America. That is certainly true in Colorado. Charlotte's story inspired the Charlotte's Web Medical Hemp Act of 2014 and many other legislative efforts around the world. On April 7th, 2020, Charlotte Figge passed away, having left the world with a life-changing story of overcoming adversity with through courage and grace. Her family continues to work in Charlotte's name. This tribute brought to you by Senator Kevin Van Winkle and Senator Tony Exum, given this day, the 6th day of April 2023, State Capitol, Colorado. Members.
Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the Senator from Highlands Ranch for allowing me to join him with this tribute. And I just simply speak blessings over Miss Charlotte and her family, and I thank them and her for her strength and courage in sharing their journey with us in the state of Colorado and to the country. God bless you all.
Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. President. And in this moment of personal privilege, I'd like to introduce Charlotte's mom, Paige. Please stand. Her brother, Max. Twin sister, Chase. Her Paige's husband, Greg. And Charlotte's dad, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am requesting a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Today is International Education Day, and a few of our international students are on the floor to my right. Just to give you some background, Study Colorado is an initiative housed at the Colorado Department of Higher Education that supports internationalization efforts of Colorado's colleges and universities. Colorado has over 9,000 international students at our colleges and universities. These students contribute over $320 million annually to Colorado's economy, making education our state's sixth largest export. The international students also help make college affordable for our own students and help prepare our own students for a global economy. I'd like to introduce some of these exceptional students. We have from the University of Denver, Vi Tuong To from Vietnam. Would you please stand? International business degree with emphasis on information systems. We also have with us Manadeep Madhavaram, who is getting a Master's of Business Analytics. And we also have Vangai Chukuto, who is getting a Master's of Science in Nonprofit Leadership. And we also have Meti Verdasa from Ethiopia, Finance and Risk Management and Insurance degree. Please give these young, amazing students a round of applause, and we are so proud to have you here today.
Thank you to all of our guests that are here today. The Senate will stand in a brief recess to greet our guests. The Senate will come back to order. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up a special orders second reading consent calendar that consists of the following bills: Senate Bill 1, 2, 32, 44, 82, 161, 177, 196, House Bill 1094, House Bill 1168, Senate Bill 193, Senate Bill 203, Senate Bill 209, and Senate Bill 208 at the hour of 9:45 a.m. Colleagues, a calendar has been distributed to your desks. Senate Bill 193 and 203 are on today's consent calendar. We just didn't want to have to go in and out of the Committee of the Whole. And 209 and 208, which are the final two bills, are on Monday's consent calendar.
The motion is that the Senate take up the bills listed on the special orders second reading of bills consent calendar. On special orders at the hour of 9:45 a.m. This does require a 2/3 majority. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will take up the bills listed by the majority leader that are listed on the calendar that has been distributed on special orders consent at the hour of 9:45 a.m. Special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the committee resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole, that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. And Senator Zenzinger will take the chair.
The committee will come to order, and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to all the bills on general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and their associated committee reports?
Senate Bill 1, Senators Roberts and Zenzinger, Representatives Burton Lukens, concerning additional functions of the Public-Private Collaboration Unit for public projects that provide housing. Senate Bill 2, Senators Mulligan and Simpson, Representatives McCluskey and Bradfield, concerning seeking federal authorization for Medicaid reimbursement for services provided by a community health worker. Senate Bill 32, Senators Simpson and Janal, Representative Lynch, concerning the establishment of a wildfire detection technology system pilot program and in connection therewith making an appropriation. Senate Bill 44, Senators Janal and Pelton R., Representative McCormick, concerning updates to the veterinary education loan repayment program. Senate Bill 82, Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, Representatives Amabile and Michelson Janae, concerning creation of the Colorado Fostering Success Voucher Program to assist foster youth. Senate Bill 161, Senators Fenberg and Will, Representatives Lynch and McCluskey, concerning state funding to finance the purchase of a firefighting aircraft to respond to wildfires. Senate Bill 177, Senators Roberts and Simpson, concerning the funding of Colorado Water Conservation Board projects and in connection therewith making an appropriation. Senate Bill 196, Senator Winter F., concerning an extension of the income tax credit for retrofitting a residence to increase the resident's visitability. House Bill 1094 by Representatives Lukens and Catlin, Senators Roberts and Pelton R., concerning modifications to the Agricultural Workforce Development Program. House Bill 1168, Representatives Sharbini and Joseph, Senator Winter F., concerning legal representation in due process complaint hearings for the parents of a student who may be eligible for special education services and in connection therewith making an appropriation. Senate Bill 193, Senator Fields, Representative Weissman, concerning victim notification matters related to criminal proceedings. Senate Bill 203, Senator Fields, Representative Soper, concerning the authority of the Office of the Inspector General to the Department of Corrections to apprehend fugitives. Senate Bill 209, Senators Janal and Rich, Representative Taggart, concerning removal of the date restriction in the definition of eligible borrower used to determine a business's eligibility for a small business recovery loan under the Clymer Act. Senate Bill 208, Senators Janal and Pelton B., Representative Epps, concerning modifications to certain tax statutes to correct defective cross-references.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the passage of all the bills listed on the special orders second reading consent calendar and their associated committee reports, which include Senate Bill 1 and the associated Local Government and Housing and Appropriations Committee reports, Senate Bill 2, the Health and Human Services and Appropriations Committee reports. Senate Bill 32 and the Appropriations Committee report. Senate Bill 44, Senate Bill 82 and the Appropriations Committee report. Senate Bill 161 and the Associated Finance and Appropriations Committee reports. Senate Bill 177 and the Associated Agriculture and Natural Resources and Appropriations Committee reports. Senate Bill 196, House Bill 1094, House Bill 1168 and the Associated Education Committee report, Senate Bill 193, Senate Bill 203, Senate Bill 209, and Senate Bill 208.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the special orders second reading of bills consent calendar. And is there any discussion on the committee reports? Seeing none, the reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the second reading of bills consent calendar special orders. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the body will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 1 is amended, Senate Bill 2 is amended, Senate Bill 32 is amended, Senate Bill 44, Senate Bill 82 is amended, Senate Bill 161 is amended, Senate Bill 177 is amended, Senate Bill 196, Senate Bill 193, Senate Bill 203, Senate Bill 209, Senate Bill 208, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1094, House Bill 1168 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent to excuse, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 1 is amended, Senate Bill 2 is amended, Senate Bill 32 is amended, Senate Bill 4482 is amended, Senate Bill 161 is amended, Senate Bill 177 is amended, Senate Bill 196, 193, 203, 209, 208 passed. On second reading, order engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1094 and House Bill 1168 is amended, passed on second reading, order revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General orders. Second reading of bills. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills. And Senator Zenzinger will take the chair.
Are you ready for the amendments?
Yes, I believe.
And do we have a committee report?
The committee will come to order, and the coat rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 186?
Are you reading 186?
Senate Bill 186, Senator Pelton R., Representative Winter T., concerning methane seepage in the Raton Basin of Colorado and in connection therewith, requiring the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission to complete a study and establish a new regulatory category.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 186 and the associated appropriations and transportation and energy reports.
To the transportation report. Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We just had some clarifying language added in transportation and energy, and I encourage yes vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the transportation and energy report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the report is adopted. To the appropriations report, Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Appropriations Committee did what Appropriations does. And I encourage you to vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Appropriations Committee report is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L0505?
Amendment L005 by Senator Pelton R. Amend the Transportation and Energy
Senator
Committee.
Pelton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What L005 does, there's still been some stakeholdering going on, and this amendment has to do with including some of the other departments within CDPHE and also within DNR to help conduct this study. So with that, I'd encourage an aye vote on the amendment.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is for the adoption of Amendment L005. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L006?
Amendment L006 by
Senator
Pelton.
Pelton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What this amendment does is just strikes the last section of the bill and converts it into just a study bill.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is for the adoption of Amendment L006. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 186? Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a very important bill, and it has to do with the Raton Basin methane capture down in the Trinidad area. We have natural coal bed seepage down there, and there is wells that have been drilled to relieve that pressure and capture that methane instead of it just going out into the atmosphere. And also a study around the production water. The production water is very good water. It has been used for wildlife and ranching and stuff in the past and before some rulemaking. So we just want to do another study to see if there's any way we can kind of coordinate with these other departments to kind of change some of those rules. So that's what this study is about.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to my co-prime sponsor for doing this with me. This is really about capturing methane. We have a lot of methane seepage, and anything that we can do in order to capture it, not release that into the atmosphere, it's a major contributor to greenhouse gases and climate change. And I think this is good for the economy, it's good for the environment, and something we need to move forward with, and this is an excellent first step.
Senator Will.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to come up and say how much I support this bill and this study because we have the coal mine issue and the methane gas over in a large part of my district from Paonia to Redstone and Marble Country with the coal mines, and there's been a lot done with this methane capture, and any kind of a study like this is good and a step forward and moving forward with methane capture. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is for the adoption of Senate Bill 186. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the Title II, Senate Bill 202?
Senate Bill 202, Senator Danielson and Hawkes Lewis, concerning the wearing of traditional Native American regalia at graduation ceremonies.
Senator Hawkes Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 202 and the accompanying Education Committee report.
To the Education Report.
Do you want me to do it? Madam Chair.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We altered slightly the definition of eligible graduate and just better reflects the wishes of the community and aligns with existing statute.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is for the adoption of the Education Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Hawkes Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, Senate Bill 202 is about honoring traditional regalia that holds cultural and spiritual significance for Indigenous people when they celebrate important moments in life. And graduations are a time where families really support their young folks and what they've achieved. And basically what we are trying to do with this bill is to protect Indigenous youth's ability to wear cultural garments at graduation ceremonies, and it also enhances the diversity of our Colorado public institutions.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you to my colleague. She speaks so well. It's great to have her partnership in this effort. I guess I'll just start by saying that, and thanks members for your time and attention today. We had a really long and thorough committee hearing with lots of participation from the community. And this is a measure that comes directly to the Senate chamber from the community all across the state, from every corner and the metro areas, including both of the tribal councils of the Ute Mountain Ute and the Southern Ute Indian Tribe. As my colleague described, Native families wear traditional regalia to mark important occasions of all kinds, as well as celebrations, events at powwows, and much, much more. One of the most significant events in a young person's life is their graduation. Unfortunately, what is happening to young Native American graduates is that schools are interfering with their right to wear their traditional regalia during graduation ceremonies. As we heard from the community members, graduates and their families are being harassed when they wear their regalia. Parents are forced to petition school boards, principals, and other school leaders in advance, but I have to remind us that this is actually for permission that isn't theirs to give. They already have the right to do that exact thing. But young people are told, you may wear your braids, but you have to tuck them behind up into your caps. School officials have denied children the right to wear their medallions, moccasins, or eagle feathers. Some have actually had school officials approach and physically touch and then remove a graduate's eagle feathers from their cap or their clothing. That is unacceptable. And I probably don't need to remind you, but the right to possess and wear eagle feathers is already in effect. All of these things are happening in our schools every year. This is unacceptable, but the community has come together to advance a measure that will put a stop to this. Senate Bill 202 will ensure that schools cannot infringe on the right of Native American graduates to wear traditional regalia to honor their accomplishments. It will make clear to every school that Native American graduates will not be harassed any longer when they wear the regalia that properly marks this rite of passage. Their parents will no longer have to ask permission or clear it in advance. It'll clarify for the school administrators that this is a right that is protected and the state of Colorado is honoring. After all, these customs, religious beliefs, and traditions predate any school that happens to be in this place that we now know as Colorado. Let's listen to our Indigenous friends and neighbors, including the one that will be upon us in a matter of weeks. I hope today that you listen to your hearts and you trust the Indigenous community and adopt this measure. Thank you all so very much, and I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 202.
Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we heard this in Education Committee, and we had a lot of very compelling testimony. In fact, I love everything about what this bill is attempting to accomplish. There was one specific witness that was very, very memorable, someone who had just graduated from high school. I believe it was from Cherry Creek High School. And just this past year, wore what she wore as a witness, which was her cap from her cap and gown, which included an eagle feather that had been awarded to her from her elders, and it was beyond cool. It was the sort of thing that I can't imagine there being objection to. I voted against that bill in committee, and I will intend to vote against it here on the floor as well, because I don't believe that this ought to be law. It should not be something that we as the legislature tell the school districts thou shalt do. But rather, I think that the cause is just, and we ought to simply do what I'm going to do right now, and that is to appeal directly to our school districts. So K-12 superintendents and school boards, please don't make these students feel like they are not accepted in their culture, but rather accommodate them. This is a small thing, but a very big thing to them. So I encourage you to accommodate them. Allow them to wear their regalia. I don't think that's asking too much at all. In fact, I think they are bringing a sense of pride to that school and to that graduation that you ought to embrace. So that's what I think we all ought to be doing. We ought to be using our positions to encourage our school districts within our Senate districts to make those accommodations, but I don't believe that this ought to be statute. So thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much to my colleague for the support of the intent of the measure. I wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't necessary. Unfortunately, the community has had to come over and over and over to school district after school district after school district to plead with them to allow them to wear the regalia that they already have the right to do. And sometimes those school boards, principals, or leaders are denying them the right still. So this law won't impact me or my children or actually every single person in the legislature, because there isn't a Native representative in the entire General Assembly. We need to listen to the community that this will impact. It's happening. Schools are saying no. They're removing items of tradition and religious belief. These are objects and items of great importance, religious value, and I think it is absolutely unacceptable that we allow this to happen, and that's what you'll be doing if you vote no. If you vote no, you are saying that the status quo right now is acceptable because this is still happening. So I acknowledge, yes, this new law will not apply to us in this chamber because we are not Native people. Unfortunately, there's only ever been one Native person that's ever served in the Colorado General Assembly. So it is upon us to do right by the community, listen to our hearts, trust that they know what they're talking about, and not force them to have to go through this kind of trial and tribulation again in the future when it is already their right to do so. What we're doing is putting a stop to the bad behavior immediately, just clarifying for schools that they absolutely cannot engage in this kind of harassment and that graduates have the right to wear their regalia. And so for that reason, I urge an aye vote, simply because I certainly wouldn't be here if a bill weren't absolutely necessary. Thank you.
Senator Hawkes Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say this bill is so important to many people across our state. We actually had the chairman of the Southern Ute Tribe come to our committee meeting remotely and make a plea to pass this bill. And it's really about how is the best way to support our youth? How can we support our children? And really what we're trying to do is uplift the right of all Indigenous people to express their culture. So we ask for an aye vote on Senate Bill 202.
Senator Will.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I didn't get to hear this in committee, but I wanted to ask the sponsors. So are we talking about just an eagle feather of significance from their hat and they're still wearing a cap and gown? Or are you talking about, say, native dress for a dance or bear dance or whatever. Is this a cap and gown situation, or is it all of their regalia?
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It would be great if members had the time to listen to the hearing, because what they describe, actually they were asked by committee members to sort of stand up and describe what they had come to committee with, which is what they would be wearing in a graduation ceremony. The typical regalia would be medallions, moccasins, eagle feather or migratory bird feather according to their tradition, beaded caps. So a number of schools, if a graduate beads their cap, will remove their cap from their head. So again, completely unacceptable and outrageous behavior for a school to interfere with that graduate's right to be, to express and celebrate their accomplishments according to their traditions. So that's the kind of regalia that is worn and expressed by the Native graduates, and they kind of went through a lot of that in the hearing, but typically that's it, yeah. And that is what the schools are putting a stop to. And like I said, we had people say, one of my kids was able to wear their regalia, one of my kids wasn't. It's arbitrary, and again, you know, a beaded cap being removed from a Native graduate and discarded is unthinkable to me. So that's the kind of regalia that you can, yeah.
Senator Lundin.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I rise to join the conversation. Heard the bill in committee, and the testimony was interesting, compelling. In answer to the question, the good senator from we're going to call him
Newcastle.
the Western Slope. I think he kind of covers the entire territory fairly effectively. The nuance is really important on this. The tradition, typically, most likely, what would happen would be a beaded, element that is added to the cap and gown. If an enrolled tribal member would like to wear an eagle feather, they would be allowed to wear that. And in fact, the most compelling testimony was a young lady who had graduated recently, and she described and showed the eagle feather that she wore from her mortar board. And she described that she also wore a tassel, and she moved the tassel over as part of the traditional process. So it was a nuanced and beautiful, and I think completely appropriate answer. I think we all, and I would associate my comments with those of the good senator from Teller County as well, that our intention is to, in fact, seek that the school districts would, without force of law, allow for appropriate things of this nature to happen. The challenge I have with the bill is a couple of things, and it goes in two very distinct and different directions. The first is the law says, in the definitions section, tribal regalia means all the things we just talked about, and tribes' traditional dress or recognized objects. So it is possible under the law, someone could come in a complete bear dance costume or something of that nature and be within the letter of the law. So that is a possibility. Not the intention necessarily, but certainly a possibility. For me, more troubling is the fact that we are seeking as a General Assembly to honor the traditions of the Native Coloradans, Native Americans, the Ute, Southern Ute, and others with this. And at the same time, I believe this bill, as written, intrudes into and controls over them in a way that I do not believe is appropriate. We put into law the fact that in the definition of who is allowed, qualifying student means a student that is a descendant of people who were living in North America prior to the time of the people from Europe began settling in North America. Reading from the bill, they re-engrossed, actually this is the pre-amended bill, page 4, lines 11 and following. The time before European people began settling in North America, is an enrolled member of a federally recognized or state-recognized Indian tribe, and this is the interesting piece, is where we get to the nuance, or is a lineal descendant of a tribally enrolled parent or grandparent. So it's these individuals who are the child of or grandchild of an enrolled individual that is most interesting to me. And we get into the fact that, Chairman Baker spoke to us remotely, and his testimony was very informative and helpful, that there is an honor, there is a tradition, there is tribal law, there is tribal ritual, there is tribal, I want to call it sacraments associated with this that governs how this would be handled traditionally. But now we come and we intrude by putting into law something, and this phrase troubles me, except that a qualifying student who is not an enrolled member of a tribe shall not wear eagle feathers. Well, traditionally that would be handled through the traditional path and program and culture and the relational interaction within the tribe. But we are now saying, and we put in law, something that a district employee or someone else may seek to get into the conversation by trying to understand, is this person legally appropriately allowed to wear this feather? Are they an enrolled member? Are they a first generation removed, second generation removed? And that troubles me, that I think we're intruding into something that is almost mystical. It's almost sacramental in nature, and I don't believe that it's appropriate for us to be putting that in law. So, two arguments in opposition. One, the law as written, in fact, could allow for the complete removal of the traditional cap and gown. Not intended to be that way, hasn't been that way, but could, under the letter, in my opinion, be that way. And two, the second argument is, here we are putting into the law something that is really a traditional, cultural, tribal, mystical, sacramental sort of determination, and we are now defining it in state law in a way that I'm not confident is the appropriate thing to do. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your attention to this conversation.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I rise in support of Senate Bill 202. If you think about it in this context, and many of us here that are Native might remember this summer of violence in the early 90s, districts and the folks who work on them are inherently risk averse. And my recollection from back then is there were policies put in place to try to reduce kids wearing different things that might denote certain gang affiliations. And there was a overreaction. This bill, in my opinion, gives cover to administrations, to districts, to make an exception to honor the tradition of Native Americans in this country. And we have had numerous discussions down here through the years revolving around mascots, and one side of the aisle has talked about how we don't want to erase the memory of, and we want to honor Native Americans. And this bill, in my opinion, helps keep the memory of their culture alive. And we should make the exception. We should help administrations and districts have certainty in statute that they can contain uniformity for one reason, but this area of law is clear. This exception is made to honor those who were here long before our ancestors.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise just to comment. Maybe this is a bit meta, but I rise to comment on the nuance of the debate. And I'm going to ask for us to speak with specificity and be thoughtful about the words that we use when approaching this issue here at the Well. Culture is not a costume, and the individuals within the Native community, both enrolled tribal members and folks who may not be able to establish blood quantum or tribal enrollment, but who are still part of the Native community, I think deserve to be treated with dignity and respect and deference, particularly when we're talking about issues around their ability to participate in these graduation ceremonies, demonstrating their regalia. I grew up on the San Carlos Apache Reservation in San Carlos, Arizona. Folks ask me, oh, how much Apache are you? My family has been in southern Colorado and northern New Mexico since before it was Mexico. My family has been here for time immemorial, and yet I am not an enrolled member of a tribe, of any nation. And so, but I did attend school, Rice Elementary in the San Carlos school district in Arizona. And I remember what a point of pride and honor it was to wear your traditional regalia at these ceremonies, both educational ceremonies, powwows, other celebrations within community. That was important and sacred regardless of whether you were an enrolled tribal member or not. One point I just want to name. Two, in my community now, in northwest and downtown Denver, there is an incredible and vibrant and proud community of urban natives, community members who some are enrolled, some are not, but all are learning and upholding and strengthening those traditions and customs, and sometimes unlearning white standards of education, white standards of what is acceptable or not. And I just want to name that enrollment is different than participation in a broader community, and that community is vibrant and powerful and worthwhile of respect. And so when I speak about this policy, it is around us also being intentional and thoughtful about how we use our language, about our colleagues, our friends, our constituents, and our allies about this set of policy matters. What I have seen in my experience as a Chicana legislator and as a Chicana in community, is that there is great solidarity and that we are not going to resolve. There's great solidarity and much work and alignment. This is one step. This policy is one step forward to ensure that Native students in a celebration and a ceremony that is such a point of pride, we're talking about graduation ceremonies. A point of pride for community. The Native graduation rates in my district lag far behind their Latino, Black, Asian American, immigrant, and Black and white counterparts. And so if there's anything that we can do to make that celebration of the graduation ceremony also a point of pride for their culture and community, let us take that step forward. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, Senator Will.
Thank you. Sorry, Madam Chair. I thought someone else was talking. I wanted to come up and thanks for all those answers, and I got a bunch of my questions answered. I did want to address the eagle feathers in the bill. That's already law. I spent 40 years enforcing those type of things. That's already in federal law. If they're not a member of a tribe or whatever, they can't be in possession of eagle feathers. I couldn't even tell you how many eagle feathers I've taken off non-native people. So that's already in federal law, and I did want to bring that up. I see it in the bill. But I appreciate all the answers to this. And I was also had a question about what about like earrings and beaded earrings and those things? Because I didn't get to hear it in a committee. Is that allowed?
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think what the Senate should probably be thinking about now is maybe not the exact details of what one might choose to wear or what personal items are, part of their celebration that day. In general, what we're talking about is that schools and their administrators or their teachers are taking it upon themselves to go up to graduates and remove their regalia. Or when petitioned in advance, some school boards and principals are saying that you may not wear your moccasins or your earrings or your braids or your medallion or your beads, which is highly offensive and cuts to the core because these traditions are deep-rooted. And I'm not going to speak for anyone. I'm relaying what was said in committee by the leaders, individuals, and the young people. The young people came to say, this is important to us for a lot of reasons. And my good colleague is correct. The reason we had to outline in the bill that regalia includes, but is not limited to, but includes these type of items is to make clear to the districts, when you see this, that is what defines regalia, which includes feathers. But we also had to say, and as a reminder, so all natives are allowed to wear their traditional regalia, but only enrolled people, like you pointed out federally, have the right to wear feathers. So we couldn't put our own bill in conflict with itself. And so that's how it's written. And I'd also like to remind folks that you may have an opinion about the policy and how it impacts sovereignty. I heard some of those concerns in committee. But I should remind us that this is the language that was selected by the tribal councils. And one of their primary concerns in any policy, whether it's water or gaming or child custody or regalia, is to always make sure that the state of Colorado is not infringing any way on the tribal sovereignty. And so this language was selected by the tribal councils of both the Ute Mountain and the Southern Ute. So we should respect their wishes in that they know that this protects the sovereignty rather than puts it at risk. And so I am confident that this bill that we have today will just make it clear to schools, you may not approach a Native graduate or their family members and deprive them of their right to wear their regalia during graduation ceremonies, and then that's the end of the conversation, so that no young people or their family members are put through the pain and the trouble and the time, and quite honestly, in a very offensive path that they should never have to go on to begin with, to get to where they should be anyway, which is that on this most important day to these young people, they are celebrated the way that they should for their accomplishments, the way they see fit.
Senator Will.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just full disclosure, I'm really interested in this because two of my granddaughters are qualifying students, and so I have a real interest in this. So that's why the clarification. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is for the adoption of Senate Bill 202. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 202 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1143?
House Bill 1143 by Representatives Kipp and Armagost, Senator Gonzalez, concerning measures related to seeking federal authorization for certain immigrants to possess firearms to be a peace officer.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1143 on second reading.
And there are no committee reports, so to the bill. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill is meant to work to both address our law enforcement staffing shortage and to respect the ways in which qualifying immigrant students have been able to serve our communities over the past more than decade through the establishment and creation of the DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. And this policy would allow those qualifying immigrants to then step up and serve our state and our communities as law enforcement, peace officers, who are then able to carry a firearm. And so I ask for an aye on this bill.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too rise in support of House Bill 1143 and ask for an aye vote. And here's why. I know maybe some people are a little bit surprised to see me up here, but I'm just going to talk about my children and the community that they went to school in. It's called Fort Lupton, RE8. It's about 65–70% Hispanic. Fort Lupton was founded by the Spanish and Mexican folks in our country, in this nation, and it's there, and it's got very strong culture and history related to Hispanics, the Spanish. My children, they had friends that are now DACA. They didn't know until they turned about 16, when they went to go get their driver's license, along with their other friends, that they couldn't do that. That they weren't American citizens and they didn't have a Social Security card. They didn't know until that point. We are talking about not illegal immigrants here. We're talking about individuals, children that were brought here, no fault of their own, didn't know. They are young people who have grown up as Americans, as Coloradoans. They identify as Americans. Many speak only the English language, and they have no memory of or connection with the country they were born. My daughter had several friends who fell into this. I spoke to them, and I know their stories. There are a lot of people in our communities that want the opportunity to fulfill their dream, to be able to be a public servant and serve their community. That's what this bill is about to me. That's why it's so important, and I'm very thankful to the good senator from Denver to allow me to join her on this bill. It's a good bill. It's important. These are fellow Coloradoans that deserve to be able to serve their community in this manner by being law enforcement officials. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1143. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1167?
House Bill 1167, Representatives Duque, Kennedy, and Sharbini, Senator Rodriguez, concerning persons who report emergency overdose events in good faith.
Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1167.
Is there any discussion?
Yes. Colleagues, this bill is cleaning up some laws in the Good Samaritan Act last year under the Senate bill that we did for fentanyl with a suit if they stay at the scene and report a crime of a drug overdose. This just codifies it and aligns it with the statute that we passed last year to clean up the gap and added some extra provisions. My kudos to the House sponsors who did a lot of work on amendments to get this in a good place, that the opposition went to minimal and got a lot of people off the bill, and most are in monitor, so just ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1167. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion for the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations on Senate Bill 186 is amended, Senate Bill 202 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1143, House Bill 1167, passed on second reading and ordered, revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent to excuse, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 186 is amended. Senate Bill 202 is amended. Passed on second reading and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bills 1143 and 1167 passed on second reading in order to revise and place on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Consideration of governor's appointments. Consent calendar. Will the clerk please read the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Member of the Colorado Commission on Higher Education for a term expiring July 1st, 2023, Lizandro Gonzalez of Thornton, Colorado, to serve as a resident of the 8th Congressional District and an unaffiliated occasion by the resignation of Stephen Trujillo, appointed.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the confirmation of the one appointment on the consent calendar, which is the member of the Colorado Commission on Higher Education.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of the appointment on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent to excuse, the appointment is confirmed. Consideration of governor's appointments. Will the clerk please read the appointment to the Colorado Commission on Higher Education?
Member of the Colorado Commission on Higher Education for a term expiring July 1st, 2026, Jennifer Walmer of Littleton, Colorado, to serve as a resident of the 6th Congressional District and a Democrat appointed.
Senator Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the confirmation of Jennifer Walmer to the Colorado Commission on Higher Education.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of the governor's appointment to the Colorado Commission on Higher Education. Are there any no votes? Senators Danielson, Rodriguez, Kolker, Cutter, Gonzalez, Henriksen, with 27 ayes, 6 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, the appointment is confirmed. Announcements. Sorry, message from the House.
April 6, 2023, Mr. President, the House has adopted and returns herewith Senate Joint Memorial 5.
Announcements. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we'll be hearing 2, not 3 bills in the Senate State Veteran Military Affairs Committee, 130 and SCR 352. We'll be hearing HCR 231002 and House Bill 231052. We will not be hearing Senate Bill 211. We will lay that over to a later date.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we are joined today by a very special guest in the chamber. I would like to introduce, and please stand, Shannon Alcott. She is Lakota affiliated and Navajo enrolled. She is a commissioner with the Denver American Indian Commission. We welcome you to the State Senate and thank you for being here today. Colleagues, please welcome. Thank you.
Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Many of you may have seen a little flyer on your desk, and I brought up Sancho and Pancho, the official animals of Peltonia. Just wanted to share these on their desk. As many of you know, I have a couple of mental health bills this year, and we decided in our office to do a toy drive for the Colorado Children's Hospital Mental Health Center. So There is a QR code on that of the rules that could be donated, but we'll have until the 21st to donate animals. I'll do reminders, but in the spirit of Peltonians and mental health, would like to get any donations you can to give something to the kids at Children's Hospital. Thank you.
Senator Hawkins Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Local Government and Housing Committee will be meeting upon adjournment. Yes, we have a few folks coming in to join us for Senate Bill 213, and we will begin in the old Supreme Court at 11. So thank you.
Senator Fields.
Good morning, Mr. President, colleagues. I have an announcement. Members of the Health and Human Services Committee, our committee will be canceled today, and all the bills that were on the calendar will be rescheduled for next week. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Important announcement. The We Could Be Done Today caucus will not be meeting tomorrow. However, those who are able will be meeting at Coors Field at 2:10 p.m. this afternoon.
Senator Malika.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance Committee will meet 5 minutes upon adjournment.
15 minutes. Senator Malika, by rule, you cannot meet before 15 minutes.
He's from the House.
So let's call it 15. Anything you do from minute 5 to 15 will not be legal. So don't pass any bills in that period of time. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Colleagues, just wanted to remind everybody that today is National Burrito Day. National Burrito Day is celebrated on the first Thursday in April, which is April 6th this year. This day celebrates everyone's appreciation for burritos. The Mexican dish is popular all over the world, but has only been offered in American restaurants since the 1930s. And colleagues, I am so sad to let you know you had a chance to meet one of Colorado's premier burrito architects. Michael Fox was joining us in the gallery earlier today. Unfortunately, he and his dear friend Nikki Collier had to leave. So I did want to recognize Mr. Fox, as you will probably notice the Disburritos on the first floor very often care of Mr. Fox. So please, everyone, in celebration of National Burrito Day, please make sure and enjoy another healthy lunch to go along with your healthy breakfast. Thank you very much, Mr. President, colleagues.
Further announcements. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday in the House gallery, there was an incident regarding a number of students who were protesting the mass shootings and gun violence and the fear that they live in their communities. I found out about this both from conversations with young people who were present and via social media. I know that there will be ongoing conversation about what happened and how it happened and how we can prevent both this incident of preserving how we address decorum going forward. But let me just say that the young people in my district, in your districts, across this state and across this country are terrified and fighting for their lives. Here in Colorado, in Tennessee, it is my understanding that this morning the Tennessee legislature is voting to expel 3 members because they stood in solidarity with those young people in the week following a mass shooting. Let us be better. Let us treat each other with dignity and respect. And even when we disagree, especially when we disagree, let us all try to hear each other. And particularly, let us ensure that we are listening to the young people and their demands. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further announcements? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Seeing no further announcements, I move that the Senate recess until noon today. Colleagues, you do not need to return. We're just reading bills across the desk, and I hope you have a great holiday weekend.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will stand in recess until noon today.